the biggest robberies in MMA, starting off with Michael Bisping. Michael Bisping fought Matt Hamill at UFC 75 in 2007. Surprise, surprise, in the UK. To break down each round, in round 1, Hamill controlled the octagon, landed more strikes and took Bisping down, pretty much clearly winning the round. In round 2, Hamill continued to press the action and maintained control, making a strong case for winning the round. Round 3, a similar pattern, with Hamill taking Bisping down and controlling him for most of the round. On top of this, Matt Hamill is deaf and actually had an interpreter in between rounds giving him sign language, so he's at even more of a disadvantage, and somehow he got so robbed. The judges gave it 29-28 Bisping, 29-28 Bisping, and 27-30 Hamill. At least Chris Watts got it right. This was one of the earliest and worst robberies I've ever seen. Diego Sanchez. This time around, the English fighter was the one who ended up getting stiffed. Diego Sanchez defeated Ross Pearson by split decision at UFC Fight Night 49 in 2014 in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I mean, looking at each round, in round 1, Ross Pearson just outstruck Diego Sanchez with cleaner and more effective strikes. Sanchez was primarily throwing these open high kicks with no setup, and most of them were just missing. Pearson's striking was clearly more impactful and consistent in round 1. In round 2, it's the same thing. Diego's throwing big shots with no setup and mostly missing. Pearson, on the other hand, is clipping Diego with clean shots and drops him towards the end of the round. Pearson continues to be the better striker in round 3, landing at a higher rate, more precise and more impactful. Pearson also ends up cutting Sanchez at the end of the round. I mean, it's so obvious who won this fight. Every single media outlet gave it 27-30 for Pearson, except BJPenn.com, who gave it 28-29 for Pearson. Amir Albazi. Amir Albazi versus Kai Kara-France, the quote-unquote closest fight on this list, which isn't saying much. Giving a play-by-play of the fight, Kai Kara-France just controlled the center and landed more meaningful strikes in round 1. Amir Albazi applied late pressure against the cage in the final 30 seconds, but he didn't capitalize on it, and it was definitely not enough to win him the round. Round 2, it was definitely more even, with both fighters having their fair share of control. In my opinion, Kai Kara-France definitely landed the more meaningful strikes, which also showed on Albazi's face, but it could have gone either way. Now round 3, Albazi took Kai Kara-France down and dominated him for most of the round, almost securing a rear naked choke. Definitely Albazi's round. This is where it gets interesting though, in round 4 and 5. In round 4, Kai Kara-France outstruck Albazi 27-5, and somehow Michael Bell still gave the round to Albazi. So questionable what's going on there. Looking at 21 different media outlets, 19 of them gave Kai Kara-France the win. And then once again, Sal D'Amato involved in an insane robbery. I mean, it just makes no sense to me how this guy still has a job. It's almost like every other week with this guy. George St. Pierre. For the first title fight on this list, we've got GSP versus Johnny Hendricks. Giving a rundown of each round, Hendricks applied pressure, controlled the cage, and landed heavier strikes in round 1. GSP was on the defensive and just circled for a lot of the round. He landed some decent thigh and calf kicks, but it definitely wasn't enough to secure him round 1. In round 2, it was the same thing again, Hendricks landing the more meaningful strikes, including a big flurry in the clinch that cut GSP. It was definitely the most meaningful exchange that round. For round 3, the striking was relatively even on the feet, with GSP starting to edge more into the fight with his jab and calf kicks, but then Hendricks landed a takedown towards the last minute of the round and landed some decent ground and pound. In my opinion as a judge, if the fight's even on the feet, but one fighter manages to take the other one down and ground and pound him to finish the round, that's a clear win for the fighter on top. Round 4, it was definitely closer, and you could give it to GSP for controlling Hendricks on the cage. The only caveat with that is, if you're going to give GSP the points for hugging against the cage, then you have to do the same thing in round 1, 2 and 3 with Hendricks. Now round 5, GSP definitely won. He was better in the striking department as Hendricks was slowing down, and then managed to take Hendricks down and started ground and pounding him and looking for submission threats. The only caveat with this is, If the judges are going to give GSP the round for dominating on the ground, then why didn't they give Hendricks the round when he did the exact same thing in round 3? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 different media outlets here, and not a single one of them gave it to George. I mean, even Dana himself said he didn't agree with the outcome.
I saw on the internet, thought that Johnny clearly won the fight, and you weren't, I don't know if happy was the right word, but you didn't agree with George's decision to walk away.
Does anybody here think that Johnny Hendricks didn't win the fight? Meltzer thinks George won?
There's other people that had George.
Yeah. But what did you think it was? 1, 3, and 5. Did you see George get smashed and hurt in the first round? It's about damage. This is a fight. It's whoever inflicts the most damage. You get hurt, you get wobbled, you get dropped. I'm blown away that George St. Pierre won that fight.
Looking at the judges' scorecards, we've got our old good friend Sal D'Amato. Somehow he gave round 3 to St. Pierre after being taken down and ground and pounded. It makes no sense, because then he gives round 5 to St. Pierre for doing the same thing Hendricks did in round 3. George St. Pierre is one of the best fighters of all time, but there's no surprise he vacated the belt after this fight and went on a 4-year hiatus. Paddy Pimblett, the second time an English fighter somehow won by insane robbery. He defeated Jared Gordon by unanimous decision at UFC 282 in Las Vegas, so it's not even England, which makes it even weirder that he won the fight. Now, I've met Paddy myself, and he was so kind for the 2 minutes I spoke to him, so I'm being as least biased as possible when I say this. He lost that fight. Funnily enough, I actually ballsed up my question to him at an open press conference at UFC London earlier this year. Now, the question was meant to be about Chandler, but I was talking about overlooking opponents, and he touched on the fact he overlooked Jared Gordon, and it definitely played to his disadvantage, and it was the first time Pimblett had really addressed the fight since it happened, and the fact he kinda did lose it. So I was really proud of myself. I was the first MMA interviewer to get him to talk about the fight, and also kind of people's perspective on it.
Once for Paddy, I know you're not supposed to overlook your opponents, but once you beat Michael Chandler, what's next for you?
Just answered that.
Shit, man.
But I don't overlook anyone, lad. I learned a lesson from that years ago when I fought Jared Gordon. I thought beating him was just a formality, and then I had the toughest fight of my life. So I don't ever look past anyone. You need to focus on the person who's in front of you.
Breaking down the fight, in round 1 the striking was even, and you could have given it either way. In the final 40 seconds though, Paddy attempted a takedown and it got reversed, ending up on his back, and Jared Gordon was landing strikes on top of Paddy. Once again, similar to the Hendricks fight, even on the feet, but then the takedown and ground and pound should have clearly won him the round. Round 2, the striking remained even initially, but Gordon increased the pressure and pushed Paddy to the cage. About 2 minutes in, Gordon landed a double leg takedown and controlled Paddy on the mat as well. There was a bit of control time before Paddy stands up and then pokes Gordon in the eye. And then round 3, the same thing. Jared controlled with pressure against the cage for the majority of the round. He secured a takedown and maintained control. Paddy landed minimal strikes, but it was mostly due to scrambles and stuff like that. And whenever Paddy would land, Gordon would land back. The control time combined with the striking advantage should have given Gordon the round. Looking at the media scores, out of all the 24 outlets, 23 gave it to Gordon, with about half of them giving it 28-29 and the other half saying 27-30. We have no one else than our good friend Chris Lee, who somehow gave Pimblett round 2 and 3. Ron McCarthy and Douglas Crosby both somehow gave round 1 and 2 to Pimblett, which is even more strange because if you think it'd be that much of a unanimous decision, surely all 3 judges would have the same rounds in mind. It's just absurd. Jon Jones. Now, for the biggest robbery probably in all of MMA of all time, with one of the most notorious and best fighters of all time, Jon Jones, it's no surprise it's Jon Jones versus Dominic Reyes. To me, when I think of the word robbery in terms of sports, this is what comes to mind. I'll give you a play-by-play of the rounds. In round 1, Dominic Reyes was landing the more meaningful strikes, clearly the faster and fresher fighter, including leg kicks, high kicks, and decent straight left, which was tagging Jones multiple times. Also, don't forget, Reyes dropped Jones with a straight to the chest. I know it was more an off-balance thing, but it was definitely showing his control and how he was leading the exchanges. In round 2, you could tell Jones knew he lost round 1, because he instantly picked up the pace. Reyes still remained the faster fighter, however, landing big flurry that pushed John Jones back and left him running. I mean, everyone's probably seen a clip of this, it's been like mashed up everywhere. In round 3, Jones immediately tries to take the center of the octagon, knowing he's behind, and starts throwing these big looping shots. Reyes dodges most of John's strikes, however, and continues to land clean counters, including good body kicks and an uppercut that jolts John Jones's head back. In round 4, you can tell Jones is becoming more desperate. He immediately shoots for a takedown and ends up controlling Reyes against the cage for a significant portion of the round. Reyes definitely started slowing down in this round, and with the cage control time you can definitely give it to Jones, which is fair. Round 5 was also very even. About 30 seconds into the round, Jones attempts a heavy takedown, but Reyes quickly shoots back up and resumes with the striking exchanges. Reyes still remains the more faster striker, although he's clearly tired. Jones lands some leg kicks, but they don't significantly slow Reyes down or look like they're doing a lot of damage. Looking at the judges' scorecards, however, we once again have our good friend Chris Lee, giving it 48-47 Reyes. Marcos Rosales had the same opinion, 48-47, but he somehow thought John Jones won round 2. And the most insane part of this is Joe Solitz gave it 49-46 for Dominic Reyes, claiming that Reyes only won the first round. Although this fight was probably the closest on this list, it definitely had the most impact in terms of legacy. This was the difference between Jones keeping his O or losing it. I mean, except for that illegal elbow DQ, but no one really counts that except for Demetrius Johnson.